It gets better every year.
Hola, buenos días. Buenos días, bienvenidos a la Zona de Innovación de esta 19 edición de NISE. Vamos a comenzar con una de las conversaciones más esperadas en el ámbito de la innovación en ciberseguridad. CISO, el guardián de la seguridad, cómo ganarse su confianza. En un entorno donde las amenazas evolucionan cada día, los CISOs son quienes deben generar confianza, promover la cultura de la seguridad y anticiparse a los riesgos. En esta sesión, expertos internacionales compartirán su visión sobre cómo construir esa confianza, equilibrar los riesgos con la innovación y liderar desde la cooperación y la estrategia. Nos acompañan Marco Latini, director de ciberseguridad Alpha Group, Italia, Michelle Bordachar, subdirectora nacional, Agencia Nacional de Ciberseguridad de Chile, Pantazis Kourtis, CISO en Piraeus Bank, Grecia, y Ronald Ritchey, former CISO de Berkeley, Estado de Washington. Y para moderar esta interesante conversación, contamos con Cristóbal Cárdenas, director de emprendimiento de base tecnológica, Secretaría de Economía de Nuevo León, México. Cristóbal, cuando quieras.
Thank you, Anna. Good afternoon, welcome all. Given that this panel is English, I'll give a brief translation of what Anna just mentioned. This panel is about CISOs, the guardian of cybersecurity, how to earn their trust. We have true rock stars here accompanying us, some CISOs, some people from public agencies. So first of all, I'd like you guys to present yourselves. If you can take a brief minute to explain your professional role, a bit of your experience. I think we can start with Michelle.
Okay,
I can't hear you.
Yes? Okay. So I'll be reading a little because English is not my formal language, but okay, so my name is Michelle Bordachar. I'm the acting deputy director of the National Cybersecurity Agency of Chile. I also work at the academia, and I was in charge of the law that created this new cybersecurity agency, and now I'm in charge of the regulation and sanction of the companies and public agencies that are under our cybersecurity framework law.
Thank you, Michelle. Marco, please.
I'm Marco Latini from Italy. I'm managing director of Alpha Group. We are a group with normally partner of CISO because we work in the anti-fraud management and cybersecurity. So essentially, we help the company to enhance their security, their posture. Our clients are mainly banks, defense, and critical infrastructure. So people who need normally the higher standard of security.
Grazie, Marco. Zach.
Hi, everyone. It's good to be here. It's an honor. I'm Zach Kourtis, and I'm the Group CISO of Piraeus Bank from Greece. I've been in the industry for 25 years, of which about 15 I've been CISO in different industries, like mainly banking, but also energy, media, telecommunications, and a little bit of government as well. I mean, it's a pleasure to be here and tackling this discussion, and I hope you find it useful.
Thank you, Zach. Go ahead, Harald.
Yes, hello, and thank you for having me out here today. My name is Ron Ritchey. I am the just transitioning out of a CISO role at Barclays Bank. I've been in the cyber industry over 30 years, mainly focused on the technology aspects of things. I've been a distinguished engineer. I've been the chief scientist for a cyber program, and again, as I mentioned, just finishing a CISO role at Barclays. My focus is on technology strategy for the security aspects of large-scale organizations, and so hopefully, some of the things that we're talking about today, I'll be able to weigh in.
Thank you, Ron. And finally, my name is Cristóbal Cárdenas. I am Director of Technological Entrepreneurship for the Ministry of Economy of the State of Nuevo León, Mexico. Under my scope, I have multiple programs for cybersecurity for small and medium businesses, artificial intelligence for entrepreneurs, stimulating the startup community, and I have a bit of experience studying topics of intelligence, national security, and cybersecurity as well. I was 5 years in the cybersecurity company. So as you guys know, we have a little over half an hour, so we're going to have 3 questions. First of all, let's talk about functionality, security, and innovation. I feel we live in a moment where there's this really interesting tension between how much security we can implement to our teams, our corporations, and the amount of convenience or ease for users and their daily dynamic. Especially in a moment where ChatGPT, artificial intelligence, and many other innovative technologies are taking such a crucial role. In the sense of this context, how can we achieve a balance between security, innovation, and functionality? You want to lead us on this one, Zach, please?
Yeah, I can take it. I can take it. So, well, I guess this question is mainly driven by artificial intelligence, but we're going to cross the whole innovation, let's say, area. So I do believe that innovation is like the 21st century electricity, right? So what we have to do to balance it mainly is to do it from the cyber lens, to do it by earning trust and making sure that innovation comes with certain kind of guardrails, let's say, so we can actually make sure that it brings us to progress, and it's not just yet another risk.
Thank you, Zach. Why don't you help us out, Ron? What do you think?
Sure. When you look at the effect that innovation has on a corporation or a cyber program, it ultimately has to do with a period of time of accelerated change. And I've been through many different technology waves in my career. I could go all the way back to when we were shifting to client-server computing. Certainly, cloud computing would be another good example, and AI is just the latest round of this rapid change that occurs. And the challenge that cyber organizations have is how to be relevant in these periods where the way that the IT or the business operates is going through a significant, period where things aren't the same as they were yesterday. When cyber organizations, bring really valid concerns around the pace of change and the need for, the technologies to be introduced very rapidly, and they say, hold on, guys, this is unsafe. The challenge you got there is that you're really standing, in the way of a giant locomotive that has gained pace and is moving forward and is driving the business in directions that if they don't follow, they will become less relevant, and less profitable and less successful. The key in these transitions is to come up to speed as rapidly as you can on the technologies and pick the locations and the impact areas where you can have the ability to create some control, some level of stability, in this period of change. The one thing I recommended in all the cloud journeys, just to use that as an example, is let's pick a cloud. Let's not try to get into every cloud. Was I completely listened to? No, but I was able to slow some of the other deployments down so that we could concentrate on one particular area. And the reason I was doing that was to basically, hold the resources of the firm in a direction that was focused, where we weren't trying to go off in a million different directions. And those are the opportunities that you want to try to strive for as a CISO organization, as a CISO, when you're trying to guide the business through these periods of change.
Couldn't agree more, Ron. I completely agree with that. Now, Michelle, I'd like to know from, homologue for Latin America, what's your interpretation of this balance between innovation, security, and functionality?
Okay, so achieving the balance, achieving the balance, I think it starts with focus and proportionality. Not every control adds real value. And if we ask, if we ask people to follow too many rules or processes, they eventually do none of them. So we are not secure, and we are killing innovation, but without revenue. So I know that what I'm saying may sound very basic, but at least our experience in the agency in these 10 months that we are from our creation, where the report of incident is mandatory for all public and private entities that are under the scope of the law. We know that most current attacks involve the use of legitimate credentials because entities are not using two-factor authentication, and that shows us that basic cybersecurity steps are crucial. So I think we need to find a balance where security measures make sense in the context and users can adapt them naturally, and innovation can continue to thrive. So in the end, I think that balance comes from understanding that security is not about like doing more and more controls and stuff, but doing what matters most. So in a way that enables functionality and innovation rather than competing with them.
I agree, and at least from the Mexican perspective, I understand what you say, that a lot of agencies, a lot of people don't use two-factor authentication. That is a huge risk. But well, Marco, from the Italian experience, what can you share with us?
What I can say is that now you cannot more choose among open the door or close the door at innovation. Because if you close the door at innovation, innovation came from the window. Because your developer will use ChatGPT, everybody will use them without control. So you have to focus on process, and you have to enhance your posture, your vulnerability management. You have to better understand your code. You have to provide secure area to test more your software, your technology. And it's what we always do with our clients. So we help them to have an environment where you can better understand, try, and process innovation inside your daily routine. So that's our way.
It's about building the ecosystem. There are so many variables that are in play that you have to create a suitable and sustainable ecosystem. Now, on to the next round of questions. CISO, the guardian of security, how do we earn their trust? And from that I interpret, how do you earn the trust of those around you? I feel that the CISO, one of the most crucial roles that he plays is building trust within an organization. And I feel that there are three ways of building that trust. Upward, with the board of directors, the CEO, the general director, or however you want to name it. You know, every corporation has their own leadership hierarchy. Downward with our teams, with our collaborators, and outward with our allies, our clients, our partners, etc. What is the key to building and maintaining trust with those stakeholders in the ecosystem? On this one, I want to refer first to you, Michelle. What do you think about that?
Okay, so I think that to build trust, the first step is to get the stakeholders engaged. So I think that it starts with clear and simple communication. So many people, we need to engage, executive, employees, partners, citizens in our case, are not technical specialists. So the ability to explain complex issues in an accessible way is absolutely essential. From my experience in the Congress with the cybersecurity law, I think that was crucial to have our cybersecurity law. And storytelling plays a key role here, so sharing real cases, both success and lessons learned. So it helps to others to understand the real impact of cybersecurity and get engaged with that. That makes the abstract tangible and gives way to what we do. And also, we need to remember that cybersecurity has a unique challenge. It's that when we do our job well, nothing happens. So we prevent incidents that never become visible. So part of our building trust lies in finding creative ways to show results in a preventive field. For example, by highlighting resilience improvements, response readiness, or absence of disruptions after implementing certain controls. So I think
I love the part of storytelling. I think that there's a crucial role there about storytelling and how we make the intangible tangible. In your experience with more than 30 years in this industry, Ron, how was your practice of building trust in the organization, upward, downward, and outward?
Well, there are a lot of cyber organizations that spend a lot of time, you know, within the peer portion. So, I mean, it's very important to have leadership support all the way to the CEO. And I very much think that as an industry, we could improve dramatically in our ability to speak the language, of the C-suite, of those chief executives. That is definitely something that we need to work at. And the best cyber programs that I've been at do that reasonably well. But to really gain the trust necessary to run an effective program, you have to get the support of your peer CIOs across the business, certainly the heads of IT, the heads of development. And to do that, we need to understand what they do for a living. There are a lot of cyber organizations that grew up on the risk side, or on the IT side. They grew up from those types of career tracks. And cyber is this kind of interesting mix of a number of different kind of subdomains. You've got, software development, you've got networking, you've got the unique nature of how, cyber attacks are launched and run. You've got, the whole ecosystem around insider threat, the psychologies associated with human behaviors. It's a very complex area, but unfortunately, we don't do a very good job, of providing the translation layer of all that complexity to the people that we're speaking about. So for instance, if I go and I start talking about the need for the systems to be patched faster, so the whole vulnerability management piece, when I'm literally handing 1 million findings to the business every year, it's difficult for them to understand the proportionality of something like that. But if I'm able to create better prioritization and explain to them exactly, the risk that their systems face, the likelihood that their systems are going to be impacted, that they're going to experience downtime, that they're going to be part of a breach, and that seems realistic to them. But I also work to make the problem tractable. I give the developers the tasks and the developers' workflows in their language. That's what helps me build trust. What I would want to have happen is to be able to get the business to a point where they can sustainably achieve vulnerability management in this example. But if I have an issue where we have a SolarWinds, where we have, a new, significant vulnerability that hits, and I go to the business and say, hey guys, I'm really sorry, but you need to basically spike, every sprint, for the next 4 weeks and get this done. And I wouldn't be asking if it wasn't important. They all go, listen, we get it. We know you want to be coming to us, and that's the level of trust that you want to get to with your business.
Of course, and it becomes an interesting phenomenon where I think there's this balance between kind of selling fear or making very tangible the risk we're facing against how much we can actually solve it and the time frame in which we will be solving it, right? So it's an interesting complexity to the CISO's role. In Italy, Marco, how do CISOs achieve trust with their ecosystem, their organization, upward, downward, outward? What has been the experience on your side?
Our experience is the fact that now the CISO have to bridge the gap among technicians and management.
Okay.
In the past, they could be just the leader of the technicians, and was all easy. Now that also management has a responsibility on cybersecurity, they have to know something, they have to look at cybersecurity not just as one cost in the list that they would like just to cut. Mm-hmm. The CISO have a key role to tell about the value of a cybersecurity posture, of the value of the security inside the corporation, and which are the economical risk of undervaluated their cybersecurity measure.
Of course.
For example, we serve the most part of the bank sector in Italy at the moment, and with our tool, you can have a rating of your posture.
Your maturity level.
Yeah, your maturity level, a mix of maturity level and real management of vulnerability, so something concrete. And we know that the CISO in the banks just talk exchanging their rating, and they are try to be at the upper level.
Okay.
Because we allow them to exchange the information, and they can tell this story also to the management and say, okay, we are investing more, but now we are at the top level, we are a lower level of incident, we have a lower level of fraud, okay. And in terms of fraud, now it's a real cost for the banks, because with the new law, banks have to cover the cost of the fraud.
Okay.
In first instance. In the past, it was the client that in first instance had to pay, and then they can ask to recover of the cost they suffered.
Okay. Okay. That's interesting because at least in Mexico, I do feel that banks kind of take ownership of the risk and the exposure, but there's still, an implicit responsibility for the user. So we have to learn something from you guys, definitely.
Well, we changed it this year, so.
Okay, it's recent. We just got to catch up. Now,
you
Zach,
have time.
thank you. Zach, being the CISO of one of the biggest banks, you said it was the biggest bank in Greece, right?
One of the biggest ones.
One of the biggest banks in Greece. We'll keep it at that. What is your experience building trust? Is there, a singular experience you'd like to share with us, or, your general broad experience of how to build trust within the institution and outside of the institution?
Well, one of the biggest, first of all, I echo everything that's been said so far. It's spot on. And I want to add that one of the biggest traits of a CISO is really to be able to translate to the different audiences, like know the room, understand the room, and be able to translate the language they need. We touched on board language. They need to know numbers. The CFO needs to understand what's the return on investment on our controls, what's the cost of an impactful incident, this kind of things. The customers going outside care about the experience they have, but how they have this good experience without being compromised by an excessive number of controls, for example. And then we have the technology teams that is a bit of a challenge, because the CISO has to be both technical and also a business executive.
Yep.
And being able to transfer impactful and meaningful information both ways. And I think one key way of doing this successful, other than always keeping a communication channel with all these areas, is transparency.
Of course, definitely. I feel that, the most complex challenges, and I echo what Michelle was saying earlier, converting the intangible into something tangible, as you were saying also, balancing between the technical language and the non-technical, being executive. And of course, I love the fact about storytelling. We have to know how to tell stories. If not, it's going to be so difficult, because, as you well said, if we do our jobs right, nothing happens. And everybody's like, well, why am I paying so much money for cybersecurity if there's no problems at all? Now, for the last question, I feel that CISOs in the current moment have gained a very exceptional role and a very crucial role in building public policy, in becoming central to the experience that, entrepreneurs, enterprises, organizations, or corporations have on the front line of, cyber risk everywhere. So they've become advisors, strategic advisors in any sense, onto building public policy. Marco, in your experience, how do CISOs interact with public policy in Italy, and what is their role? What should be their role in creating public policy or advising public policy makers?
So at the moment they are starting to work with some good associations.
Okay.
So they are starting to let them voice spread out, and they start to have some also good relationship with the national authority.
Okay.
The main problem we occur is the trust in exchanging the information. So as you said, the incident that people tell to the national authority are many, but we are never sure that they all tell the truth, that they provide all the information. So what they can do better is certainly to give more information about what happened, and so they can have more trust by the institution. Maybe also the institution should find some way to anonymously describe what happened, describe the pattern, what happened in their organization, because also here there is a balance about corporate secret and discovery information.
Yeah. So basically, you would round it up in sharing information.
Yeah.
Okay. I completely agree. Zach, coming back to you, what is the experience in Greece?
So First of all, there at the moment, public policy is influenced, I would say, from mainly the big organizations and the government itself, really. I'm just going to break it, to be honest. There's an initiative that Piraeus is starting for internally initially, and then for Greece, that we're creating a center of excellence.
Okay.
That will actually put a framework and a governance in place that is actionable on not just feeding the policy, but also bringing like government agencies, big corporations, big banks, and a big part of expertise in the country. And in 2027, we are expanding to across Europe and then potentially the world.
Okay.
In terms of, and that will have the benefits of having a unified approach on cybersecurity and organized input on public policy, and that will actually represent, will be like a community, representing everybody, not just one side that is the government or the big corporations and the banks.
Okay, excellent. Ron, I know that your experience was with Barclays. Could you talk about the American experience of how CISOs, advise or help or play a role within the construction of public policy, cybersecurity-wise?
Yeah, I mean, it's a big topic in the U.S. and globally, but in the U.S. it's particularly complex just because there's so many different agencies that get involved, whether it's defense, civil government agencies, whether it's on the regulatory side, like with the Fed or with SEC or those groups. So let me see if I can break it down into a couple of different areas. There is direct engagement where the banks try to steer the government in the direction of good regulation, of good laws. But that's normally done through a series of shared bodies that we participate in, like the FS-ISAC, the Financial Services, Information Sharing and Analysis. I forgot what ISAC stands for.
That's fine.
Nonetheless, there are these groups that we work through where in the industries I've been working at for at least the last 15 years, it's these banks that get together and say, this is really, kind of the view that we have and how the government can come and assist us. Then you have the direct kind of information exchanging areas where we're trying to influence the government and they're trying to influence us. So there's a number of outreaches between the intelligence agencies, law enforcement, where we're trying to figure out ways for them to provide us data that we can use to defend our networks. And they also want to hear from us, but it's a little bit like two porcupines trying to figure out, how to be friends. Because the intelligence agency wants to provide us the data, but they're afraid that we might expose the way that they got that data in ways that might undermine their ability to operate in the future. They want to monitor our networks and understand what we're doing, and we're like, no, our customers don't want you on our networks. And so it's a very difficult dance there, but that's an ongoing kind of exchange that we're working towards. The last area I would say is the soft power side. Okay. So the large organizations, and I've worked at 3 very, very large financial organizations. It was Bank of America first, and then JP Morgan, and then most recently Barclays. We have the ability to take positions, that really help drive the way the industry thinks, sometimes by naming and shaming. So the last organization I was at, JP Morgan, their CISO, who is an incredible CISO, has started getting public about some of the things that they expect from their vendors, and they're naming specific vendors and saying, guys, you need to do better, and putting a marker out there saying, this is what we expect from the technology companies that we purchase from. And so things like that, where we're starting to use our voice and saying, what, this isn't good enough, you need to help us better, and being specific about what we mean by that is, I think, another way that CISO organizations can really help drive the public discourse.
I feel that there's an interesting experience there with the States because, at least from what Marco was describing of, intelligence sharing or information sharing, I know that first, the International Organization on Incident Response Teams actually has intelligence sharing. As Mexicans, we learned a lot from the United States model in intelligence sharing, at least from the public security perspective, with other topics, not necessarily cybersecurity, I'm sorry. But I think that there's a crucial role in that sense in how we articulate, the sharing of intelligence and information across the board. Michelle, I left you intentionally for last because I know that your experience is quite crucial in the sense that you supported the creation of a law and you've been in the Cybersecurity Center of Chile since its conception, right? So what's the role that CISOs play in Chile in the formulation of public policy? What was your experience with the law you guys created?
Yeah, okay, so, and I also work in the academia, so
okay.
Yeah, like I can see the role of the CISO in government, industry, and academia, and cybersecurity agency. I think it plays a crucial role as the practical counterpart across these spheres, the one who bring reality to the theory, and they translate that work on paper into actually works in practice. Also with government, CISO helps to ensure that policies and regulations are grounded in operational realities. With the private sector, they foster collaboration and promote standards that are realistic and implementable. And with the academia, they help to align research and training with skills and challenges that organizations truly face, because we have seen in the cybersecurity agency, but also in the academia, that there's a breach between what industry needs and what are creating, or from the educational point of view, and CISO can help with their experience to align that gap. And also, I would like to comment that in the cybersecurity framework law, we have a strict duty of confidentiality, precisely because to address the fear of reputational damage. And our duty of confidentiality is so strict that we cannot even share information with law enforcement authorities. So, and also, like, moreover, as long as I am the deputy director, it's not in my plans to find any institution that reports an incident and place its trust in us. So building trust is fundamental for the work that can make CISO to build policies and to help to the work of the National Cybersecurity Agency. So that would be my
Let's hope you're deputy director for a long time and that prevalesces. We have just about 5 minutes remaining. I'd like to open the debate, for if anybody from the audience has a question. I just ask that you would tell us who you're directing the question to, or if it's to the group. Are there any questions? Go ahead.
Question to the panel. What are your thoughts on quantum to the panel, what are your thoughts on quantum computing and how ready should we be getting to be able to subsist within a quantum supremacy state? ¿Cuáles son sus pensamientos en cuanto a la cuántica y la preparación que deben tener las compañías para protegerse en el futuro cuántico que viene pronto?
Thank you. Anybody want to answer?
I could come in to begin with. So the direct answer I would provide is that we don't know exactly when quantum is going to start having significant impacts in ways that either affect or undermine the current technologies that we use to secure our organizations. However, we do know that the amount of time it will take us to make the changes to our infrastructures, that would be necessary to protect us against a post-quantum world is not a 1-month journey. It's probably not a 1-year journey. It's probably at least a 3-year journey for an organization to make the substantive changes to, how their networks operate, how the data is encrypted and protected in their systems, how authorization systems identify, individuals or systems. All of that is going to be a multi-year journey. And so you need to ask yourself, how lucky do you feel? I'm a bit of a quantum skeptic. I've tracked the industry pretty carefully for, the last 20 years. It's always 5 years away from breaking RSA, but one of these days I'm going to be wrong, and I would much rather, build, a program to make the changes now as opposed to waiting. And I will just sell it with one other aspect: the changes that we need to make actually improve the resiliency of our organizations today. So there is return on investment for the the things that you would need to do to prepare for post-quantum that will have other positive impacts into your IT, resiliency, and CISO programs, even if crypto doesn't show up in a real way for cyber programs for another 20 years.
Thank you, Ron. Anybody else have an opinion?
Yes.
Go ahead.
From our perspective, to put, sorry, can I answer in Spanish? I know that it's not.
Yeah, I guess so.
Okay, so no, it's okay. So from our perspective, from allocating limited resource to across multiple challenge, our position is that before worrying about quantum, we need to make sure that basics are covered. What I just said about two-factor authentication, it's real. Like 80% of the attacks reported in Chile comes from access using legitimate credentials. So if we don't manage to solve that, which is possible even with free tools, why or how can we get to invest our resource in quantum that it's really expensive if we are not even covering the basic and free aspect of cybersecurity. So that's our perspective from the Cybersecurity Agency of Chile.
Excellent. Thank you, Michelle. Zach, Marco, anything?
No, I think I covered by Ronald. Yeah, I think that's good.
I totally agree that we were not also covered for GenAI, for generative AI, and we are not yet covered. Nobody was prepared to face the incoming of generative AI in our environment. Now we are late in addressing those problems. So I think quantum is something that now should be covered by R&D, by innovation department, but still not in production. We can wait and first cover the basic asset that everybody have uncovered. I think worldwide.
Yeah.
Europe maybe more.
Maybe.
Maybe, but I'm not sure.
Yes. Well, thank you for your question. Sadly, that's all the time we have. I thank our excellent speakers, and please stay here because I think there's going to be another conference on CISOs from Latin America. Thank you very much and have a very nice day.